welcome to episode 72 of Brews Less Traveled, the podcast exploring the best uncharted craft beer scenes across the U.S. I'm your host, and I'm happy to welcome back my co-host for our Yakima episodes, Thom Broholt. Thom, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, man. Good to be here. Good to be celebrating one of my own lovely towns in my past again. Shout out St. Joe's.
As we talked the 2 for 2 on that, as we talked last week, you spent some time in your younger years in Yakima, not beer drinking years, but drank some Yakima beers because you are in Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good place to be from. We're really spoiled out here for sure. Pretty biased towards all of our Northwest beers. Don't drink any beers from anywhere, but if I have to drink a beer, it's probably going to be from Washington or Oregon, maybe sometimes Idaho.
Not a bad stance to take. So this past weekend, the Great American Beer Festival was held in Denver. Some of our friends of the pod went out there. Shout out to anybody that ran into Laura, Todd, Isaac, or Corey at the Brewvana/City Brew Tours booth. Huge beer festival out there, features hundreds of breweries, serving some of their best beers, and also features one of the largest beer competitions in the world. Thom, have you ever attended a GABF?
I have. It is pretty amazing. And I did it as a media member many years ago, and that is, other than maybe being a participating brewery, that might be the best way to do it because you get full access pretty much everywhere. So very spoiled. Got to go every single day for I think 3.5 days. A lot of beer was consumed, a lot of good stuff. It was early on in my palate training days, so I need to go back now when I actually kind of know more about what I'm drinking. I think for sure.
Yeah, I certainly want to make it out there next year. Had a family engagement this past weekend that was really nice, really awesome. But, because of that, could not attend GABF. But, hope everybody had a good time. Would love to go out there. I've been to Denver twice for CBC, and, that's about 12,000 people at its biggest. Those are all industry people. I imagine GABF is a different vibe. I think the biggest years have been closer to 30,000 or 40,000 people. I imagine that's pretty crazy. So, also wanted to give a quick shout out and congratulations to Brews Less Traveled friends that took home medals in the 2022 Great American Beer Festival competition. First off, congrats to City Barrel in Kansas City, Missouri for taking home a bronze in the Hazy IPA category for their Rad AF beer, which was actually featured on episode 36 of this podcast. Maybe seeing love that brewery, would love to figure out a way to get them back on some kind of live stream. Congrats to Mad Tree in Cincinnati for taking home a gold medal in the ESB category for their Happy Amber. Congrats to Pacific Northwest friends, Good Life Beer and Deschutes from Bend, Oregon. Good Life took home a silver medal for their Sweet As Pacific Ale, and Deschutes was awarded a bronze medal in the English Ale category for their Otter Encounter. Great beer name. Congrats to our friends at Zoll Beer Company from Knoxville, Tennessee for taking home a silver in the American Lager category. And finally, congrats to Varietal, who we are featuring on today's show. They were awarded a silver medal for their Hyperion in the category of fresh hop IPA. Who would have thought Yakima Brewery taking home medal for a fresh hop IPA?
Yeah.
So cheers.
Go ahead. You're going to cheers.
No, please.
I was just going to say that Happy Amber, I believe, I don't know if it was featured on the podcast, but it was definitely in the Cincinnati box that we had.
Oh.
I have drank a lot of that Happy Amber because it was early on in the Brews Less Travel days and we didn't have as many subscribers. So there was a lot left over in my cooler for that. So that is a really good beer.
I have
for
to
sure.
I have to pull I'm terrible. I have to pull that episode. That's probably episode uh 5, 3 or
It's
5. Go
early.
back to listen to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And also go watch Cincinnati Next Exit on YouTube. Double plug. So cheers to all of those breweries. Cheers to our friend breweries, and cheers to every brewery that took home medals at GABF. It's certainly a great honor. But let's get to this week's features. We're continuing our way through Yakima today with 2 breweries. We have the aforementioned Varietal Beer Company, and we're going to be enjoying their citrus, Sunflight citrus wheat, excuse me. And we're also featuring Wandering Hop Brewing Company, and we'll be enjoying their 369 Damn She Fine IPA. Please shout out to our Beer Club subscribers joining us for the stream. Make your Little John and the East Side Boys references in the chat now, please. Thom, we've got a guest this week, but first we should crack open this Sunflight beer. This Sunflight citrus wheat from our friends at Varietal, recent recipients of a silver medal at GABF, like we said. That was a beer that won for the fresh hop categories, but this is a very interesting beer because this is a wheat ale made entirely with Pacific Northwest grown malts from Mecca Grade estate malts. You know, most of the beers in this box are going to be featuring all Pacific Northwest hops, but this is a really interesting beer that we wanted to include because it does have those all Pacific Northwest grown malts. You know, they don't just do good hops up there. They also grow a lot of other great stuff, including malts, including the ones in this beer.
Yeah,
Cheers.
I'm pretty sure the malts from this beer were malted about half a mile away from our Washington warehouse where these beers ship from. Great
No
Western
way.
Malting is one of our neighbors
No,
there,
not
and it wasn't not
no,
Great
Mecca
Western.
Grade.
Macro-grade.
Mecca Grade.
Oh,
Similar.
close. I just assume Great Western's so huge. Like I just assume they provide all the grain for everywhere.
Great Western malts. No, this was made, in fact, made with 100% Mecca grade estate malt, grown entirely in the Pacific Northwest. Also conditioned on lemon zest and orange zest for that wonderful citrusy feel.
Mm-hmm. It's there. It's really at the top of the taste there.
Let us know what you are thinking in the chat about the varietal Sunflight citrus wheat. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, I think it's time. Time we get to our guest. Please join us in welcoming the co-founder of the Wandering Hop Brewing Company. More technical difficulties here. Nathan Cooper. Nathan, how's it going?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
There
we go. Hey, we can see you.
How's it going, guys?
Doing great. So we should start off with our rapid fire question rounds. Quick questions, quick answers. Good way to get to know you. Good way to have some fun to start off the interview here. Nathan, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Favorite non-Wandering Hop beer?
Block 15 Sticky Hands.
Ooh. Favorite hop?
Mosaic, without a doubt.
Okay, we will talk more about that later, I'm sure. Favorite season?
Ooh, probably spring. I'm too out of shape to enjoy summer, and everything else is just too cold.
we were lockstep on that for a second there with the favorite beer and the favorite hop, but yeah.
Now fall here is where my vehicle just piles up with hoodies because it's cold in the morning and it's like deadly hot in the afternoon, and I'm too forgetful to just bring them back in. So it's like a mobile wardrobe at this point.
Wine or cider?
Ooh, I have to say wine. Definitely wine.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
I'm literally
And if you're
looking out the window at 2 wineries right now from our Zillah location.
okay, I expected that answer. If you're not working, where could you be found? Where are you most likely to be found?
Usually Single Hill, Bale Breaker, or Varietal. Or at home renovating forever and ever.
All right, and last rapid fire question. My personal favorite rapid fire question. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I probably have the same exact answer as Kevin Smith from last week. Like one of those drunken late nights hiding on top of a roof to avoid whatever.
Being caught.
And
yeah,
let's just throw it out there. And staring up for hours and then just seeing like something completely unexplainable, like not an airplane, too close to be like a satellite that just looks like a moving star, but something very weird leaving a trail and like multiple visible dots. And it's like, I know I've been drinking, but I had somebody with me and they agreed. They're like, I have no idea what that is. But also it's kind of unfair. We've got the Yakima firing center over here with a bunch of military stuff that happens. So, I mean, I'm sure it'll get chalked up to that, but I don't know what I saw. So that technically makes it unidentified. I'm going with that.
I love that answer. I love this. Just, yeah. I hope everyone this week, everyone this month has the same answer. And this is just going to turn into a UFO conspiracy podcast where we try to figure out the interconnectivity between all the UFO stories of our 5 favorite Yakima breweries.
I mean, to be fair, it is farmland, and most stories of UFOs are over farmland.
That's how Men in Black happened.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Edgar.
Poor Edgar. Sugar.
I feel like that should have been a better jumping off point for more, rather than a lull in the conversation.
Yeah,
the Edgar comment is top notch.
I was just doing like movie quotes because I'll go down this whole thing.
Sugar in water. I was trying to leave space, Thom, for you to ask the next question, but I really wanted to go on a string of impersonations of Edgar. But everybody go watch Men in Black. How about that? Plug for Men in Black.
This makes me want to change the question a little bit to, when you co-founded Wandering Hop in 2017, which ship did you get off of to get that going? But actually, so you reportedly visited 80 different breweries in preparation for opening. What were some of the key things you learned from all those visits?
Mostly it was just kind of watching taproom flow and talking one-on-one with a lot of the owners about their startups. There was a handful of places, very nano, where when they were telling their opening stories, you could hear like the shake in the voice. Like I brought up some serious trauma, like opening on a half barrel or a 1 barrel system. Like you could just see the pain and misery in their eyes and in their voice. So that was definitely one of the biggest things I picked up when we visited all the breweries. And then, like I said, like taproom flow, what I loved, what I didn't. There's so many directions you can take a brewery. You can turn it into like the sports bar and have 80 TVs all over the place and be the high tech, cool brewery. You can be the super low key, quiet. Like we just wanted to find what we wanted to do and what we thought best fit the area and a budget.
So you heard all those stories, the trauma of those breweries that opened with a half barrel system, and you went ahead and opened with a half barrel system?
Correct. I actually, so my co-owner, my co-partner is my father, Sonny Cooper. He's backed this thing to the end and stood by me through pretty much everything. And when he said, we're going to open on that half barrel, I said, cool. And I went home and I took every single credit card I had and I maxed them out and bought a 3.5 barrel system. But I kept brewing on the half barrel. So I would get up at 6 a.m. I'd go in and brew. I'd race home, shower, and then go back to the tap room and pour beer from 3 to 9 o'clock every night. So, but that's what you do when you want something. You make it happen.
Is that the system that came from More Beer, the half barrel system?
Yep. That thing. Yeah.
It sounds like you have trauma.
I mean, I have brewed on that thing over 200 times now. It just cracks me up how much like work and effort went into each little batch just to get a half barrel keg that blew in like a day and a half every time. 2 weeks of work for a day of beer.
Oh boy. So I'm very familiar with More Beer. I've worked with them a lot. I worked with them. That doesn't sound right. I've bought a lot of stuff from More Beer as a home brewer, and actually both Thom and I have worked with them in a professional capacity for with their wholesale side. They're a California-based company, known mostly for that home brew supply stuff. So what was it like working with them from the commercial side? Was it just the system that you bought from them, or was there ingredient supply from them? Did they have support for you when they bought the system? What was that like?
So Yakima being small town, I kind of mentioned that I was starting a brewery, and we had a couple friends over at, then Hop Union, now Yakima Chief. And they said, well, we're friends with the CEO. Let's give you his phone number and you call him an order. I'm like, that sounds super crazy. Let's not call the CEO to make a $1,000 order. Strike 1 and 2. But we ended up reaching out, and the CEO did put us in contact with a great salesperson, and we ended up ordering their pilot system, the brew sculpture. We got a handful of SS Brewtech half barrel fermenters, a mill, just a ton of little things. And I didn't know at the time, so I'm buying like all my grain and a bunch of hops from them just to get this ball rolling, even though literally the hops are grown right down the road and I could have gone anywhere to grab them. And then of course we started getting bigger, and to the point where I was at Ace Hardware's homebrew section so much I was starting to get a discount there. Like it was a community built effort here.
That's one of the things that's a comment. You made a comment there that really makes me understand the difference between, where I live, where most people live, and Yakima. You said the Ace Hardware homebrew section.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Yep. So you can get your weed and feed and a 50-pound bag of 2-row, like 10 feet apart.
That's amazing. Oh, yeah, that doesn't happen here in Pittsburgh. I have to go from one place to the other and get those things separately. I'm lucky if I can get a 50-pound bag of 2-row.
I'm not winning any awards in geography. I remember the first time More Beer sent me an order. It said it was coming from Pittsburgh. So for a minute there, I got excited for you. I was like, I have a More Beer. No, there's Pittsburgh, California, apparently.
Pittsburgh, California, spelled without the H. And also, funny enough, that is their West Coast location. They do have an East Coast location, which is in Ambridge, PA, which is like half an hour outside of Pittsburgh. So
they like those pits.
Yeah.
So Brian, have you ever brewed a weed and feed beer on your system? I mean, that's what happens when you buy the same place. You accidentally use weed and feed, and it cleans you right out.
Get those vegetal characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a beer break. You know the little plastic square thing on your bread and bagel bags that keeps them closed? Well, those are known as quick locks. Technically quick lock bag closures, and they're made by a Yakima-based company. The Quick Lock Corporation was founded in 1964 by Floyd Paxton. Floyd was eating some peanuts one day and decided, I don't want to eat this whole bag of peanuts, but I can't close the bag. He took out an expired credit card and with his pocket knife carved the first Quick Lock bag closure. He started the company to mass produce bag closures for Washington Red Apple bags, and now they operate 6 warehouses manufacturing a wide variety of bag closures like the JNRP, VNRP, VWNRP, the R, the RI. This probably sounds like gibberish, but they make a ton of bag closures, and you probably have some in your house right now. So next time you enjoy a fresh bagel or piece of bread, you can thank the Yakima Valley. Now let's get back to the show. All right, my glass is running down.
Uh-oh. All right, well, I think that means you need to crack up the 369. But while you're doing that, let's get into this beer. What would you tell us about this beer, Nate? What was the precipice for? Or I must be drunk already. I can't say words. What was the what was the thought behind making this, and what did you try and achieve with this beer?
What is the reason for this beer?
Yes.
No, when I first started doing hazies, I was doing single hop hazies, kind of experimenting around, seeing what each hop did, because again, it was on the more beer, so it's like, well, this will be here today and gone tomorrow, and it was such a small scale, being consistent, it was kind of a nightmare. So originally we did Galaxy and then moved on to Citra. And then when we did Mosaic, I fell in love with that one. I was like, I'm digging this. It had all your kind of the juicy characteristics that people are going for with the fruit, like the mango, the papaya, guava. But it also had some of that dank resinous Northwest style to it. So it was kind of it was a crowd pleaser on both ends. Like, a lot of people would tell us they didn't like hazies, and for whatever reason, 369 was so easily approachable. They're like, well, I'm not a big IPA fan, but I can drink this. I'm like, perfect. Welcome into my world. Come closer. And actually, when I went to release this for the very first time, I remember, because it was just me doing all social media, our brewing in our tap room. I remember saying, new beer released today. And it was like 10 minutes before we opened. And I was like, beer doesn't have a name yet, but it'll have one by the time you get here. Back in the early days, trying to name a beer, I'd sit there, okay, it's Mosaic Hop. Google Mosaic Hop. What does the word mosaic mean? I'd go down this little rabbit hole, and then it hit me. Mosaic was originally HBC 369. And I was like, HBC 369. 369, damn she. And then, yep, we're running with it. And it has caught on.
That's wonderful. So all Mosaic hops in this, have you ever brewed variations of it?
So pretty much every single batch of 369 is different. We play around with a bigger whirlpool, a smaller whirlpool, bigger dry hops. We'll use Mosaic Lupomax. We'll use Mosaic Incognito, all the different Mosaic products we can get. The one you guys are actually drinking, this time we switched up the yeast just to see how it would act. Okay. It was a more beer, has Cellar Science yeast. So we tried their hazy pitch, and I don't know, it fell out for me. It definitely wasn't nearly as hazy as it should have been. I mean, it's not crystal clear, but yeah, normally it's kind of glowing. So, I mean, every time we do 369, I like to change it up a little bit and play around. So this one was partially Lupomax and partially T90 pellets, just to kind of give it a little more resiny character while still having that juiciness. Because I'm not trying to make just fruit juice in a can these days.
There's still, I mean, despite your dissatisfaction with the appearance, I think the body is still there and that mouthfeel is still there.
Did you start with a London ale sort of strain? Was that your first, and then you're mixing it up a little bit, or?
Yeah, we use London Ale 3 in pretty much all our hazies. We tried juice for a while from Imperial.
Yeah,
I was having a hard time harvesting that. Like, I talked with Standard Brewing in Seattle, and they were actually saying it's a top cropping yeast and to harvest off the top. So they had like a blow off tube connected to their keg, and that was like a moment of clarity for me. I was like, okay. Every time I think I'm harvesting juice yeast, I'm just dumping beer down the drain. So we switched to the London Ale 3, and every once in a while I'm like, the beer just tastes the same. It's the yeast. We got to change something. And that's the beauty of 369 being the exploration of the Mosaic hop, so that I can do whatever I want and change it every time and be okay with it.
You've found your favorite hop and you've just given yourself a canvas to paint upon with it.
Yep.
What just one more thing about 369. What are for those of our listeners, guests that don't know, what are Lupomax hops. Like, people are familiar with pellet hops. What's the
Right.
difference between the Lupomax and normal pelletized?
So Lupomax. So each of the hop companies here have kind of different names for their process. So Yakima Chief's going to have cryo, which is basically removing all the bract, the vegetal matter from the hops, and then they put it into a powder form. Haas does Lupomax, which is basically removing all of that bract and the oh my gosh, I just lost my whole thing. They're removing all the bract and the vegetal matter, only instead of keeping it a powder, they repelletize it. So your pellets are just amplified lupulin pellets. I think the first time I used Lupomax, I didn't read the email. Shocking, I know. I didn't read the email that was like, use maybe like 60% of what you would normally use. And I just did pound for pound. And I was like, wow, this is really, really in my face and smells like I didn't walk into a beer shop, but an alternative shop that's legal in Washington State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very condensed lupulin. It's got a bigger kick and you'll get more of the grassy resinous notes. So like with fresh hop beers this year, we went mostly Lupomax for dry hops, just so you stayed true to that fresh hop character. And I know about 2 years ago, we did a bunch of fresh hop beers, and then you have to dry hop them or it's just going to smell like lawn clippings and misery. Only we went a little heavy on the dry hopping, and basically a lot of them just tasted like your everyday beer, which is like, well, we put 200 pounds of citricones in this, but you'd never know it because I kind of blanded it out with pellets. So a Lupomax is a good kick. Anyone looking to try and play around with that stuff.
So I read that Wandering Hop was the first brewery in Yakima to brew New England style IPAs. You talked about when you first released 369 and some of your first iterations of single hop New England IPAs. What was the most outlandish reaction you got to those early iterations?
We got a lot of the older good old boy farmer type coming in to give us a shot, and the moment that I poured it in a glass, they just looked at it like, I don't want the bottom of your keg, son. and you'd get other brewers like, is this a yeast sample you're trying to make me drink? So it was kind of shocking at first. Like, a lot of people were, I mean, Bailbreaker paved the way for IPAs in the Yakima Valley. You could put a newspaper behind the beer and read it. And what I was serving looked like dirty dishwater to everybody else. When we originally opened, our best-selling beer was called Not of This World. It was 100% Galaxy hops, and it literally looked like Sunny D in a cup. And a lot of people joked, is this the Tampico juice, the gallon juice jugs you could buy at the grocery store? And I was like, I'd sure be rich if I could sell you that for $5-6 a pint.
Yeah. But they've seemed to become more widely accepted in the Pacific Northwest and in Yakima. Do you think there was a key moment or turning point to that acceptance?
I think once it had been out for a little bit and we started gaining a little bit of traction, and it was bringing in a lot of non-beer drinkers because you weren't giving them that bitterness that threw them away, like immediately off-put them. I think probably within the first year, once we'd been open, we'd done some tap takeovers and people got out there and tried it a little bit. I want to say about the first year, it started picking up in the Yakima Valley, and then we were just known for it. Like, nothing else would really sell. I could get away with brewing the amber like once a month on a half barrel. And now, yeah, fast forward 5 years later, I have to brew 10 barrels of the amber every month, and it's just gotten out of hand. Everything's so backwards.
Yep. And now you do stuff like throw birthday cake in beer too, huh?
I'm never gonna live that down.
I'm sorry.
Anytime I meet people like in the industry, or they want to do like interviews or anything, they're like, "So you're the guy who threw the birthday cake in the beer?" Like, man, it was our 1 year anniversary, and I was at the grocery store, like just kind of getting my breakfast and some caffeine to power the week. And I remember seeing a birthday cake. I was like, I mean, we could just throw that in. It's essentially flour and grain anyways, just in a, I don't know. Man, there's
sugar.
A lot of things that there's a lot of things that
It'll
go
get
through my
fermented
head on a brew day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did. I threw a little birthday cake in the first batch, and then dry hopped it with frosting because I'm a monster and don't respect rum.
Well, you've given us years of memes and ridiculous beers. If you're actually the first one to start that, then thank you. The memes have been great, and I've enjoyed. There's a brewery down right where I live here locally that makes a cake beer. They condition it on angel food cake, and it's wonderful.
Oh,
I like cake and beer.
Yeah.
I also like memes about cake and beer too.
If I'm going to choose a beer that I'm going to drink that has either cake or beer yeast, I'm going cake every time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's some things you get to be known for, I feel like
what brewery was the beer yeast?
Oh my gosh.
Rogue.
I have to, yeah, it was
it John
not
Mayer?
anyone. Not anyone. Yeah, your body is Wonderland for sure if you're drinking that beer.
No, I mean Rogue. Isn't the Rogue guy's name John Mayer? Yeah, it is. It was
probably
him. It was him. His name.
Well,
is John
I mean,
it is John Mayer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I hope his body's a Wonderland because I drank that too.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about your second location here a little bit. I mean, it's a good graduation point to have that second location. What makes that special for you besides Wanderland? Speaking of, man, I had a great transition there that I missed. That I could. I just hang up on me. I'm done.
You could take it again. Laura, cut that first take. Cut that first take. Thom, take it again.
So no, I can't do it. Anyway, tell us a little bit about Wanderland and how it has nothing to do with your body. All right, there we go. Kind of.
So Wanderland was it was kind of accidental. My dad was at the bank waiting to speak to one of the loan officers or someone there, and she was a couple minutes late. So he saw a real estate magazine on her desk and just started rifling through it. And I randomly get the call. He's like, "Hey, do you think you could turn a winery into a brewery?" There's a little pause. And I was like, "Dad, I turned an old like leather repair shop into a brewery. I'm pretty sure I could turn a winery into a brewery." And he's like, "Well, let's go look at this thing. It says it's on almost 4 acres." And I was like, "Yep, no, let's do it. Yep, 100%. And then when we got out here and I got to see their production space, it was, oh my gosh. It was like being a kid going to Disneyland for the first time, like overwhelming. I was so excited. Because right now, to give everyone an idea, our Yakima location, where we originally brewed and packaged everything, is 1,100 square feet. And that includes the tap room. So our brew space is about 450 square feet. And that was 3 tanks for a 3.5 barrel brew house and 3 7-barrel unis. So like if you left a valve open, you're getting a bruise or a cut. Like it was that close quarters and uncomfortable. And the production space at Wanderland's 3,600 square feet alone.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal for us. We'd been looking for property. We had to grow. You can look at the numbers and it's like, nope, you're going to work till you die and fall apart on a 3-barrel system. So we knew we had to grow and it was time. So yeah, we found the place. The owners were amazing people and we had talked to them for a while and made an offer and they agreed, they accepted. And 10 or 12 days after we signed was the end of the world when COVID came.
Oh.
So we were super key with timing there.
Good time for business decisions.
Yep.
How big of a system did you end up putting in there?
I put a 10-barrel Premier stainless system in here that we got from Coronado Brewing.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they had bought it, I believe,
Down San Diego way.
Yep, Monkey Paw. It was originally Monkey Paws, excuse me. So.
Oh, this is like the Divine Sisterhood of the Traveling 10-barrel system.
Yep, traveling brew house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny actually. 2-3 weeks ago, I was at Bale Breaker and I saw a bunch of guys with Coronado shirts, and I was like, "Well, it is hop selection." And I walked over and asked if one of them was a guy named Nick, and they're like, "No, but wait, are you?" And I was like, "I bought the system." They're like, "Holy, you're the guy that bought it?" And I was like, "Yep." So it was.
I can't believe you got somebody to buy it.
It was kind of that reaction. I was like, "Well, yeah, no, it works now." And it's cranking out award-winning beers. I can say that finally.
Yeah. So can you give us more background on the does the winery still operate there? Is there some kind of cohabitation still going on? What's the future of the Wanderland?
So they had retired and were leasing it to another winery that's about a mile away from us. So when we bought it, we actually housed a bunch of empty wine bottles, 36 pallets worth to be exact, for Two Mountain Winery, which is literally a mile away from me that I can see. Which the first thing I did moving into Zillah, it's a small town. We just bought a beloved winery. So it's like, okay, we have to get on everyone's good side. Yes, I'll leave your bottles in here and I'll move them with my forklift 5 times before I finally get them in their resting spot.
Yes, do you need your car washed?
Yeah, I know. We were trying to keep everyone happy, but no more wines produced here. They did leave us some of the poly tanks, which we've actually put to use for like collecting wastewater and our RO water runoff. Just trying to take care of the planet because we're on a wastewater pond here. We don't have sewage or like actual wastewater that it goes to, so we treat it ourselves and handle it. So those wine tanks did come in handy.
But yeah, keeping an eye on your total dissolved solids and the like, huh?
My TDSs and what have you. Well, originally I wanted to use them for doing fruited sours because we're surrounded by agriculture here. Our property borders an experimental cherry field. I've got neighbors with, crazy donut peaches and apples. There's a whole lot of fruit out here. It's wild.
When are you getting your first cool ship?
We've actually been bugged about that a bunch. I'm like, man, I spent my whole day keeping bacteria and stuff out of my brew house to just like, hey, come on in through the front door.
Yeah. Is there, I didn't find any in my research because it was focused on our 5 feature breweries, but is there a brewery with cool ship and doing open spontaneous fermentation in Yakima?
I know Bronyar in Natchez has a cool ship with a trailer hitch, so they can actually drive it out into orchards and leave it there for a little bit and then drive it back. And they had been messing around with that for a while. But I've been buried over here in Zillah and haven't gotten to go enjoy any of their pizza or any of their beer. So thank you for putting a little reminder in my ear.
It seems to me like this would be a great time, like this time of year is when to be using that cool ship, because those cold mornings and the warming up, that yeast is going to get super active. It's over on this side of the mountains. It gets a little bit rough because you only get like 1 or 2 days a year, where I feel like you probably have a lot more over there. With that.
I think we were.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that's the hardest thing about it. I think you need consistent temperatures under 40 degrees, and that's also you're just throwing caution to the wind, and you don't get to find out what your beer is going to be for like a year, 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous. Yes. So, question we like to ask everybody, Nathan, what is something Nathan, Mr. Nate, What is something you wish the Yakima Valley was more well known for?
The activities, not just Yakima, if you Google it, it usually has some bad results, which is frustrating, because the food scene here, the craft beer and wine, like the wine region here is absolutely nuts. The agriculture is crazy. Like I said, so many things are grown here. Anytime we've had visitors for like hop selection and I've been on like a bus with them, they're just looking out the window like, okay, what's that? And I was like, those are apples. What's that? Peaches. What are those? And it's just like, oh, that's asparagus. Those violent little spears coming out of the ground. It's super cool. And I mean, we've got rivers and fly fishing, and there's tons of crazy, awesome hikes and bike trails out here. Just the outside activities. I really love our 4 seasons here, even though I picked a favorite one. I'm sorry. There's a lot to do in the Yakima Valley, but I've actually been working closely with the Yakima Valley Tourism, and they put together these itineraries, and I'll show up and do tours and appearances and like samplings and flights with people. And they've got some really good itineraries to the point where I was like, I want to join the next one. And they just recently put together a craft beer trail, which has been awesome. I know, like every time I go to Bend, I'm like, all right, how destroyed can I get doing their beer trail? And now we have our own, so I'm like, this is perfect. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, we worked with Yakima Valley Tourism to put a lot of this stuff together, as we often do when we put together these beer boxes. And yeah, they seem like they're doing really great stuff for a city that, you know, has what, 100,000 residents or something like that. And they're really going the extra mile to showcase the best that the area has.
It's been really, really cool to see it. We've seen, I mean, I always check our Square sales and to see like how many new customers, how many returning, and a lot of them have been like completely out of town, out of state even. No, the Yakima Tourism is doing really good things with drawing people in.
That's really good to hear. You know, we definitely do this podcast to focus on the beer and stuff like that, but we also try to highlight the tourist aspect of these small places. You know, if we could promote people to do trips from Brews Less Traveled, it would be what I refer to as beer and trips. We're going to go, you know, they have good beer, but we can do this also. You know, there's great outdoor activities. There's beautiful wineries, cideries, there's orchards, there's hiking, there's biking, there's fishing, there's kayaking, and definitely makes for a lot of great areas like Yakima. Nathan, thanks for joining us. Anything to plug for Wandering Hop?
I mean, we're just getting into crazy season. I mean, we just survived the crazy season, but now we're moving on. We turned 5 2 weeks ago, so we're going to throw a belated 5-year anniversary for our Yakima location. Our Zillah location is, because the warehouse is so big and we can't afford a canning line, we have all this extra space. So we've actually been booking just private events left and right. I saw a 1-year-old have a better birthday party than I've ever had in my entire life out there.
1-year-old birthday parties at breweries, very hot.
Things have very changed popular. A lot since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So we normally do the cake beer for the anniversary. We'll probably, I don't know. We just released a big tangerine milkshake, so we'll see what we can pull off. I know we just got a bunch of new swag because I'm always a season behind on swag. Like as soon as like winter rolls around, I'm like, cool, our tank tops are here, you guys. I'm the worst at it. But I know we've got some new food specials, and I'm just recently brought on a kitchen manager, so I expect to see our food scene change drastically to be more what I want. So it'll be fun.
Well, I mean, awesome. 5th anniversary, shout out to the comments and Matt P, another cake beer. So get your kitchen manager to get you another cake, you know, with the right balance of grain and frosting, and you can make another amazing cake beer.
I mean, yeah. Do you go buttercream frosting or?
Duncan Hines straight out of the tub.
I mean, it is getting late enough. I could see us doing like an imperial birthday cake stout. That's right in my wheelhouse, unfortunately.
Let's go. Let's do it. That's great. Where can people find beer? Local distribution only?
We self-distribute everything we have. So we do a lot in the Seattle area. Quite a few places over in Seattle. I saw Mitchapalooza checked in one of my beers in Texas. So that was literally the highlight of my morning a couple of weeks ago. Like, I saw our beer in Texas and I was like, I love Texas. I love seeing our beer all over the United States. So thank you guys for that, because that was, I mean, we're Wandering Hop. We were a travel inspired brewery who works too hard and doesn't get to travel anymore, but it's really cool to see our beer all over the place. Definitely local distro, and we're going to get into a lot more canning in the next few months here. So hopefully spreading that a little bit further.
Well, if everybody in the chat could let Nate know where you're checking in from tonight. Let's show him the love from where everybody is checking in tonight, because I definitely know the beer wandered around the country for this. So it's great that we could share these beers. That's the goal of this podcast. So it's really great to see that in action. Oh boy, I just lost my place.
So cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, let's see. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Lehigh Valley. Shout out to the Lehigh Valley. Shout out to Bond Place. Greenwich, Connecticut. Monroe, Connecticut. Athens, Georgia. Scottsdale, Arizona. Wheatfield, New York. I don't know that one. I said that like I knew that one. Akron, Ohio. Shout out to our beer club subscribers that are joining us for the stream as we record this. Great episode. Lots of fun tonight. Thanks to Varietal for supplying the other beer for this episode. You can find more from them at varietalbeer.com. Nate, where can people follow Wandering Hop?
I want to say we're at Wandering Hop on Instagram. We also have Wanderland Zillah on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, I think awesome. Instagram and Facebook are about the only two. Nobody trusts me with a brewery TikTok, and I completely understand why. So we're not there yet.
Unleash Nate. Listen, everybody else at Wandering Hop, unleash Nate on TikTok. That's great. You can find more from us at brewvana.com. Be sure to check out the beer club there. Help support this show, and you get beers sent directly to you, the very beers that we drink on this show. Also, check out our holiday beer boxes. Very similar to our beer club that we have going on here, but ramped up into a day-to-day experience for the holidays. I got to say, I am so excited about the beers that we have involved in this year's boxes, and I hope everybody gives it a shot. It's a great experience. We're going to have 19 straight nights of live streams with exceptional guests, great beer education, and definitely some bits and puns and outfits and green screen play and a soundboard. But yeah, that's going to come later in the year.
If I don't get malty every night, I'm going to be disappointed.
We got the green screen now, so we'll design a background. We'll put Malty back there. He'll be hanging out.
Should be like the Where's Waldo, Where's Malty on the background contest. Write it down. Make it happen.
I'm gonna make a note. Make sure you check out the holiday beer boxes from Brewvana for a stupid reference that only Thom and I are gonna laugh at. But as for Brews Less Travel, we'll be back next week with our next featured Yakima brewery. But until then, stay safe, be kind, and support local breweries. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching Brews Less Traveled on YouTube. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more interviews with brewery professionals.